At the dinner they said, "Let her serve, she's used to it." Then the waiter bowed and said, "Madam Ambassador, your seat is ready." My name is Celeste Duval, a 35-year-old diplomat who had spent years navigating the intricate halls of international relations from the vibrant heart of New Orleans, a journey far removed from the dismissive expectations my family imposed with unrelenting scorn. It was March 2025, and the family reunion unfolded at a lavish Creole restaurant along the Mississippi River, its wrought iron balconies draped in blooming jasmine, a picturesque setting for a gathering meant to celebrate my cousin Marcel's appointment as a regional bank director, a role that solidified his status in their eyes. The air was warm with the scent of gumbo and the soft rhythm of jazz drifting from a nearby street performer, the spring light casting golden reflections over the water where relatives mingled in tailored dresses and suits, their laughter a stark contrast to the tension I carried. I'd been summoned as an obligation, a peripheral figure amid their pride, my family. My mother, a seamstress with a love for tradition, my father, a dockworker with a rigid view of status, and Marcel, the family's golden child, radiating approval over his financial ascent, his success a mirror they held up to my supposed shortcomings. "Let her serve, she's used to it," my mother had quipped during the appetizer course, gesturing toward the water pitcher, my father chuckling with a nod, their words a shackle I couldn't break, their praise for Marcel a constant reminder of my outsider role. I stood quietly near the table, my silk scarf, hinting at my travels, clashing with the casual aprons, my fingers nervously tracing a diplomatic dossier hidden in my bag. They were oblivious to my work, DeltaBridge, a diplomatic initiative I'd started 5 years ago with $7,000 from a cultural grant, now valued at $45,000 and earning $4,000 monthly from international partnerships. The remark cut deep, a public relegation to servitude, but it was the waiter's address that turned the evening into a revelation. As the main course arrived, I refilled glasses per their taunts, only to have the head waiter approach, his posture stiff with respect, bowing slightly as he said, "Madam Ambassador, your seat is ready at the head table." The room fell silent, forks pausing mid-bite, my mother's smirk fading, my father's laughter dying, and Marcel's confident grin faltering as a delegation of foreign dignitaries rose to greet me, their formal attire a stark contrast to the family's casual disdain. My heart raced, a mix of pride and shock as the ambassador from Brazil explained my recent appointment to mediate a trade dispute, his voice carrying over the jazz, hinting at a global stage my family had never imagined. Why the sudden honor? I had no answer, but their stunned faces suggested a deeper undercurrent. Had my work finally shattered their perceptions? The moment sparked a fire as I followed the waiter, the river's murmur a backdrop to my swirling thoughts, each ripple a question about what this could mean. Our backstory was a weave of family tension and subtle rivalry, stitched into New Orleans' vibrant tapestry. Growing up in the Treme neighborhood with its colorful shotgun houses and soulful music, I was the dreamer daughter, always sketching peace treaties while Marcel excelled in finance, his pragmatism earning promotions. Our divide widened when I pursued diplomacy in 2017, rejecting my mother's push for sewing, her steady trade, or my father's dock life, a path they deemed fanciful. Marcel thrived at the bank, his engagement to a lawyer a triumph, while I built DeltaBridge in a rented office near Jackson Square, the city's humid breeze a companion to my late-night negotiations fueled by beignet and resolve. By 2020, I'd secured a $9,000 grant from the State Department, hiring a mentor, diplomat Dr. Elise Moreau, for $1,500, her guidance a beacon, my savings reaching $7,900 as I brokered my first trade deal. The reunion exposed their ignorance, igniting my resolve to prove my worth with my diplomacy. The waiter's address suggested a hidden stake. Had my success reached their radar? A mystery that lingered as I took my seat, the chandelier's glow reflecting off the river, each shimmer a challenge. The journey began with fierce resolve, a silent vow under the office's dim light. I returned to my space, the faint hum of the French Quarter audible through the window, and reviewed DeltaBridge's progress, my desk cluttered with maps and negotiation notes, a map of my ambitions etched in ink and strategy. My latest breakthrough, a water rights agreement, had gained traction with a $2,000 grant from an environmental NGO, a win that spurred me. I worked 60-hour weeks, my eyes strained from documents, guided by Elise's insight into Marcel's bank supply influence, a gap I could exploit with my diplomacy. My savings rose to $8,700, and I invested $2,500 in travel logistics, projecting $5,000 returns. At a cultural summit in April 2025, held in a hall with the scent of magnolias, I presented the agreement, earning a $2,000 deal from a Caribbean nation, my voice steady despite my nerves. But Marcel's presence, networking with investors, his suit a symbol of power, unsettled me, his glance toward my table a chilling moment. Could I challenge a financial titan? I pressed on, drafting a plan on a cafe napkin in the rain, the ink smearing, a symbol of my fight against family scorn and his dominance. The confrontation simmered as I met Elise, her data showing Marcel's vulnerabilities. Outmaneuver him, she urged. A former colleague, Jamal, warned of sabotage, fueling my ambition to turn their dismissal into my triumph. I expanded DeltaBridge with a $5,000 grant, savings at $9,800, valuation at $48,000. Jamal's caution about Marcel's ties was ignored. A rival leaked my proposal linked to Marcel, costing me a $2,200 deal, a loss that stung. A vendor delayed my event supplies, citing his pressure. Was this sabotage? In my office, rain tapping, I felt the reunion's sting and a rising challenge. What did Marcel know and why the ambassadorial honor? The sting of my family's taunts and the waiter's unexpected reverence lingered as I sat in my New Orleans office. The gentle lapping of the Mississippi River audible through the open window, its murky waters a stark contrast to the storm brewing within me. The $2,000 Caribbean deal was a fragile win, my savings at $9,800, but the $2,200 deal lost to a leaked proposal and the vendor's delay gnawed at me, signs of Marcel's influence tightening its grip. Was this sabotage to drown my rise? My hands, soft from years of paperwork, trembled as I reviewed a trade draft, the faint scent of magnolia blending with my racing thoughts. Elise's belief in my diplomacy was a lifeline, but doubt crept in. Could I withstand a banking titan's reach? I called Jamal, his voice tense over the line, confirming Marcel's history of undermining rivals. He'll sink you if he can, he warned. I steeled myself, the rustle of documents a steady pulse, determined to turn their scorn into my triumph. The next week I met Elise at a cafe in the French Quarter, the scent of chicory coffee and the murmur of tourists grounding me amid the tension. Her furrowed brow scanned the leaked proposal report and the vendor's delay notice, the papers crinkling under her fingers. This is targeted, she said, sketching a plan: secure new allies, boost visibility, expose Marcel's tactics. I nodded, the clink of a spoon a rhythmic beat, and reached out to international NGOs, their cautious interest a flicker of hope. I launched a Bridge Rise crowdfunding campaign, investing $1,800 from my savings, now at $8,000, projecting $4,500 returns to fund outreach events. In my office I briefed my small team, a translator, a logistics coordinator. In the cramped space, the air thick with the hum of a fan. We're under attack, I explained, showing the evidence, my voice firm despite their worried looks. Their nods, a blend of resolve and support, bolstered me, their loyalty a shield. My valuation rose to $50,000, a number both promising and precarious. My ascent gained momentum, a surge of purpose driving my pen. I secured a $3,500 contract with a Latin American trade group, their enthusiasm lifting my spirits, and invested $1,600 in translation services, projecting $3,200 returns. My savings stabilized at $8,300, and I upgraded my office with better furniture, working 65-hour weeks to refine the water rights deal amid New Orleans' competitive diplomatic scene, the city's humid air a constant companion. Jamal called, his voice laced with concern, urging caution against Marcel's retaliation, his own scars from a sabotage negotiation fresh. But I hung up, his advice a distraction, my focus sharpening with each clause. The contract added $2,200 monthly, a steady flow that fueled my confidence. Elise's update unsettled me. Marcel had been seen with bank regulators, his influence pushing a smear campaign against my initiative's legitimacy, their alliance a calculated move. He's guarding his profits, Elise said, her tone grim. But his bank's reputation is slipping. Clients want ethics. The rivalry burned, pushing me to out-negotiate them all. The pressure escalated a month later, a test of my resilience. I hosted a cultural forum at Preservation Hall, the room alive with the scent of candles and the hum of diplomats, earning a $2,700 pledge from an African delegation. But tension brewed. Marcel's bank launched a rival trade proposal, their smirk a challenge, and a local paper hinted at his sway, questioning my credibility. My heart sank, the trust I'd built now shadowed, but I adjusted my pitch, dipping my savings to $7,600. A legal notice arrived, vague but threatening, suggesting Marcel's network was probing my office's permits. A subtle intimidation that quickened my pulse. Was this his move? I consulted Elise, her analysis suggesting a public challenge to reclaim the narrative. I agreed, planning a live address at Congo Square, the risk heightening my resolve. The event, held under the square's historic oaks, drew 180 attendees, my hands steady as I outlined the water deal. The crowd's applause was a boost, but Marcel's presence, watching from the edge, his expression cold, sent a chill. Whispers spread, lifting my deals to $2,800 monthly, yet the pressure grew. The rivalry deepened as Jamal visited, his face etched with worry, bringing news of Marcel's faltering reputation. "He's losing ground," he said, sharing data on his bank's 13% client drop since my rise. I seized the opportunity, launching a Delta Alliance campaign to counter his narrative, their support a digital wave that fortified my base. I secured my office, adding $1,400 in security and a part-time aide, my savings at $6,200, the team's spirit a bond against the storm. But sabotage struck. Marcel's ally disrupted my event, delaying a $2,000 deal, the betrayal a bitter taste. I reported it to trade regulators, their probes slow but promising, my frustration simmering. Marcel's shadow loomed larger, his reunion taunts now a riddle. Had he sensed my diplomatic rise? Standing in my office, the river's glow casting warmth, I felt the dinner's wound and a challenge that tested my every negotiation. The truth was near, but at what cost? The disrupted event and Marcel's cold gaze from the Congo Square address haunted me as I stood in my New Orleans office. The soft golden glow of the Mississippi River shimmering through the rain-streaked window, its gentle current a stark contrast to the turmoil within me. The Delta Alliance campaign had rallied international advocates, boosting my deals to $2,900 monthly, my savings at $6,200, but the sabotage and legal threats cast long shadows, the air thick with the rich scent of jasmine and the sharp edge of uncertainty that clung to my skin like dampness. The truth behind Marcel's taunting dismissal, and the waiter's reverent address, was tantalizingly close, a treaty I could almost sign, yet the cost, financial strain, family fracture, hung heavy, a weight over my every word. My hands, steady from years of negotiation, paused as I reviewed a draft, the rustle of paper a rhythmic pulse to my unyielding resolve. Jamal's warning about Marcel's desperation echoed in the humid room, and I knew the next move was mine, to confront the past and claim my diplomatic legacy. The investigation into the disrupted event broke open the following week, a turning point that reshaped the narrative. Trade regulators, spurred by my report and a wave of public outrage from New Orleans' vibrant community, raided Marcel's bank, the clatter of their audit echoing through the marble halls as they uncovered manipulated trade data linked to his network, a scheme to discredit my initiative. The news spread like wildfire across global news feeds, the city's cafes buzzing with murmurs and the clink of absinthe glasses. My name vindicated as partners turned against Marcel's tactics with a fervor that caught me off guard. I felt a surge of vindication, a warm tide rising in my chest, but the $2,000 delayed deal remained a bitter pill, its lost potential a constant reminder. Elise called, her voice crackling with triumph over the line, sharing data on Marcel's bank losing 17% of its client base since my rise, and a cryptic ledger hinting at a past deal he'd sabotaged. "He's crumbling," Elise said, her tone sharp with opportunity. "Strike now." I seized the moment with fierce determination, launching a Bridge Unveiled gala at the New Orleans Museum of Art, investing $1,700 from my dwindling savings, now at $4,500, where I showcased the water rights agreement. The event drew 250 attendees, the hall alive with the scent of orchids and the hum of diplomatic chatter, earning a $5,000 grant from the United Nations, a milestone that lifted my valuation to $55,000. The rivalry reached its dramatic crescendo as I prepared for the gala's climactic moment, the air thick with anticipation and the faint melody of a string quartet. I invited Marcel, a bold move to bridge the family divide that had fueled my drive, his presence at the venue a rare and tense sight, his tailored suit a stark contrast to my elegant yet practical dress, the fabric whispering of the banking world he dominated. His eyes narrowed as he reviewed the agreement's terms, a flicker of dread breaking through his usual arrogance, a silent admission that shifted our dynamic, but he issued a veiled warning of a counterstrike, legal pressure from his bank's allies, a subtle threat to my office's legitimacy that loomed like a storm cloud. The news tightened my chest, a vice of anxiety clamping down, yet it only fueled my defiance, a fire stoked by that dinner's humiliating slight. I collaborated with the Delta Alliance community, staging a public forum at Jackson Square, the historic plaza packed with 300 supporters under a balmy evening sky, their applause a thunderous echo reverberating against Marcel's fading influence. My voice quivered as I revealed the sabotage evidence and the buried deal, a 2019 trade theft. The crowd's cheers a tidal wave that drowned his credibility, boosting my contracts to $3,700 monthly. But the cost was steep. Marcel's lawyer sent a cease and desist letter, its crisp pages a paper tiger I handed to Elise, who advised a strategic pause to avoid escalation, her wisdom a lifeline as I navigated this high-stakes diplomacy. The truth emerged in a quiet, transformative moment, a revelation that tied the dinner to my present struggle with startling clarity. Jamal visited on a humid night, the air heavy with the scent of rain-soaked streets, his hands clutching faded notes from a 2019 negotiation I'd pitched to Marcel's bank, notes he'd rejected and later used to secure a lucrative deal, a move that had cost me credibility and propelled his rise. His taunt at the dinner wasn't mere amusement at my role, but a mask for the guilt gnawing at him over that betrayal, a secret he'd buried as my diplomacy began to eclipse his achievements. The realization hit like a sudden storm, my anger a searing flame that mingled with a strange, bittersweet relief, the weight of years of belittlement lifting slightly as if a locked door had finally swung open. I confronted him at the gala's queue, the room falling into a hushed silence as I displayed the notes, his eyes darting away from mine, his silence a confession that roared louder than any spoken defense. The audience's murmurs swelled into a wave, his reputation fracturing like brittle porcelain, my victory sealed not in a courtroom but in the court of international opinion where my peers and supporters stood as my allies. My savings dipped to $2,800 with legal fees, a sacrifice I bore with gritted teeth, but my valuation soared to $58,000, a number that reflected not just financial gain but the resilience forged in adversity. The aftermath reshaped my world with a quiet, enduring strength. I secured a $6,500 contract with a European trade bloc, their admiration a soothing balm to the wounds of the past, my monthly earnings climbing to $4,500, a steady rhythm that steadied my once shaken pulse. I upgraded my office with a conference table, its polished surface a symbol of progress, and began a memoir, River of Resolve, its pages a raw testament to my journey, each chapter a deliberate stroke of healing that mended the fractures in my spirit. Marcel's unexpected visit softened our rift slightly, his reluctant acknowledgement a fragile bridge over the gulf of our past, his presence a rare warmth amid the office's cool air, while his bank faced a relentless client boycott, his influence waning like a fading jazz note. Yet peace wavered when an anonymous letter arrived, slipped under my door. You've won this round but your bridge isn't secure. Watch your step. I froze, the envelope trembling in my hands, Elise tracing it to an untraceable source, likely a remnant of Marcel's circle or a new adversary. I hired a security consultant for $1,300, my savings dropping to $1,500, transforming my office into a fortified hub with locked files and surveillance. Standing amid my maps, the river aglow with the soft pink of dusk's first light filtering through the blinds, I felt a hard-won triumph, the dossier's weight my ally. But the letter cast long shadows. Could it be Marcel's lingering ally, or a rival diplomat emerging from the mist? I sipped sweet tea, the sweetness grounding me, ready to face whatever challenge flowed ahead in the diplomatic current. Hey Revenge Tempest fans! Celeste's journey from outcast to Madam Ambassador is captivating. Loved it? Hit that subscribe button and join our community to stay connected. Drop a comment and tell us where you're watching from.